Part 1, Introduction. Welcome to our channel where we unravel the greatest mysteries of faith, mythology, and the cosmos. Today we're embarking on an epic journey to explore one of the most profound and enigmatic stories in religious history, the war in heaven and the fall of Lucifer, the radiant angel who dared to challenge the Creator himself. This tale is not just a dusty legend, it's a saga of light versus darkness, loyalty versus betrayal, and the very nature of free will. Why would heaven, a realm of perfection, untouched by sin or sorrow, become the battleground for a cosmic war? What drove Lucifer, the brightest of all angels, to fall from grace and become the symbol of evil? And what does this ancient conflict reveal about the forces shaping our world today? These are the questions we'll answer as we peel back the layers of this celestial drama. This story has captivated theologians, artists, and storytellers for centuries, from the pages of the Bible to the verses of John Milton's Paradise Lost. It's a narrative that forces us to confront big ideas: the power of pride, the cost of rebellion, and the fragile balance between freedom and obedience. So buckle up for a thrilling exploration of the heavens, where angels clash and destinies are forged. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to join us on this journey through the mysteries of the universe. Let's dive in. Part 2, Who was Lucifer? Before we can grasp the magnitude of the war in heaven, we need to understand who Lucifer was, a figure whose name still echoes through time. In Christian tradition, Lucifer, often called the morning star or light bearer, was an angel of unparalleled beauty, wisdom, and power. His name, derived from the Latin word Lucifer meaning light bearer, reflects his radiant splendor and his exalted role in the heavenly hierarchy. Picture this: among countless angels in heaven, Lucifer shone like a star at dawn. He was not just any angel. Many traditions, including early Christian writings, describe him as an archangel, perhaps the highest ranking of all. He led the choirs of angels in worshiping God, his voice resonating with divine harmony. The prophet Ezekiel, in Ezekiel 28:12-15, offers a glimpse of his perfection. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of Paradise. Every precious stone adorned you. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created. Lucifer was God's masterpiece, endowed with intelligence, free will, and a position of honor. Some traditions even suggest he was the guardian of God's throne, a role that placed him at the heart of divine glory. But this perfection carried a hidden danger. What makes Lucifer's story so compelling is the paradox at its core. How could a being so perfect fall so far? The answer lies in the very gifts God gave him. His beauty fed his vanity, his wisdom fueled his ambition, his free will opened the door to pride. Lucifer began to look at his own radiance and think, why should I bow to anyone, even God? Am I not worthy of worship myself? This shift in his heart is captured in Isaiah 14:12-15, a passage often interpreted as describing Lucifer's downfall. How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. These 5 I will statements reveal the depth of Lucifer's pride, a desire not just to rival God, but to surpass him. This was no fleeting thought. It was a deliberate choice that set the stage for a cosmic rebellion. But who was this angel before his fall, and what drove him to such audacity? Let's explore the roots of his tragic descent. Part 3, The Fall of Lucifer. Lucifer's fall is one of the most dramatic moments in religious lore, a turning point that sparked the war in heaven and reshaped the spiritual cosmos. This was not a quiet rebellion. It was a full-scale uprising that tore through the fabric of heaven itself. According to Revelation chapter 12:7-9, Lucifer did not act alone, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they did not prevail, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. This passage paints a vivid picture of a celestial battlefield, with the archangel Michael leading God's loyal forces against Lucifer, now called the dragon or Satan. But how did Lucifer rally so many angels to his cause? Tradition holds that he convinced one-third of heaven's angels to join him, a staggering number that speaks to his charisma and cunning. Lucifer's rebellion was rooted in several motives, each revealing a facet of his complex character. First, there was pride, the sin that theologians like Augustine and Thomas Aquinas called the root of all evil. Lucifer's pride made him reject his role as a servant of God. He wanted to be worshipped, to sit on a throne of his own. Second, some traditions suggest jealousy played a role. Early Christian writers, such as Origen, speculated that Lucifer resented God's plan to create humanity. When God declared that humans, made in his image, would rule over earth and receive his love, Lucifer, a being of divine splendor, felt insulted. Why should these frail, mortal creatures be elevated above him? This jealousy may have fueled his desire to undermine God's creation, a theme that echoes in the story of Adam and Eve's temptation. Third, Lucifer's free will was a double-edged sword. Unlike humans, who are bound by physical limitations, angels possess a pure, unclouded intellect. Their choices are deliberate and eternal. When Lucifer chose rebellion, it was not a moment of weakness, but a calculated act. He saw himself as a liberator, offering angels a chance to break free from divine authority and forge their own destiny. The war in heaven was unlike any earthly conflict. It was a clash of wills, a battle of spiritual powers. Michael, whose name means "who is like God," stood as Lucifer's opposite, a symbol of humility and obedience. The loyal angels, led by Michael, fought to defend God's sovereignty, while Lucifer's forces sought to overthrow it. The outcome was inevitable. Lucifer and his angels were defeated, cast out of heaven in a moment of divine judgment. Revelation 12:99 describes their fate. They were hurled to the earth, stripped of their celestial glory. Lucifer, once the morning star, became Satan, the adversary, the accuser. His fall marked the birth of evil as a force in the universe, a shadow that would haunt humanity's story. But the fall of Lucifer raises deeper questions. Was his rebellion a tragic mistake, or was it an inevitable consequence of free will? And what does this war tell us about the nature of heaven itself? Let's dig into these mysteries. Part 4, why was there war in heaven? The idea of war in heaven is jarring. Heaven is supposed to be a place of eternal peace, a realm where God's will reigns supreme. So why did this perfect paradise become a battlefield? To answer, we need to explore the theological, philosophical, and symbolic dimensions of this story, which have fascinated scholars and believers for millennia. First, let's consider free will, the cornerstone of this narrative. God created angels with the ability to choose, a gift that mirrors his own infinite freedom. Unlike automatons, angels like Lucifer could love God freely or reject him entirely. This freedom is what made their worship meaningful, but it also opened the door to rebellion. The war in heaven shows that even in a perfect realm, free will carries risks. As the philosopher C.S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, free will, though it makes evil possible, is also the only thing that makes possible any love or goodness or joy worth having. Lucifer's choice to rebel was a test of this freedom. By rejecting God, he exercised his autonomy, but at a terrible cost. Theologians argue that God allowed this rebellion not out of weakness, but to demonstrate the consequences of turning away from divine order. The war in heaven was a cosmic lesson. Freedom is precious, but it demands responsibility. Second, the war in heaven symbolizes the eternal struggle between good and evil. Lucifer's fall is not just a historical event in Christian mythology. It's a metaphor for the moral battles we all face. Lucifer represents pride, the desire to place oneself above others, while Michael and the loyal angels embody humility and devotion. This duality is woven into human experience, from the temptation of Adam and Eve to the moral choices we make today. Theologians like Thomas Aquinas saw Lucifer's pride as the original sin, the spark that ignited all subsequent evil. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas argues that pride is an inordinate desire for one's own excellence, a flaw that led Lucifer to seek divine status. This perspective casts the war in heaven as the origin of the cosmic divide between good and evil, a divide that shapes the spiritual landscape of the Bible. Third, the story offers a lesson for humanity. Lucifer's fall explains why evil exists in a world created by a good God. After being cast out, Satan turned his attention to humanity, seeking to corrupt God's creation. The temptation of Adam and Eve in Genesis 3 is often seen as Satan's first act of vengeance, a way to strike at God by leading humans astray. This narrative provides a framework for understanding suffering, temptation, and the human struggle against sin. But the war in heaven also raises philosophical questions. If God is all-knowing, did he foresee Lucifer's rebellion? And if so, why allow it? Some theologians, like Augustine, argue that God permitted the fall to bring about a greater good. By defeating Satan, God demonstrated his justice and mercy, and by redeeming humanity, he revealed his love. Others, like the early church father Irenaeus, suggest that the fall was part of God's plan to teach creation the value of obedience through experience. Finally, the war in heaven has cultural resonance. It's a story that transcends Christianity, appearing in various forms across religions and mythologies. In Zoroastrianism, the evil spirit Angra Mainyu opposes the good god Ahura Mazda. In Greek mythology, the Titans rebel against Zeus. These parallels suggest a universal human fascination with the tension between order and chaos, authority and rebellion. The war in heaven is more than a celestial event. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles with pride, freedom, and morality. It challenges us to ask, how do we use our free will? Do we follow the path of humility, or do we risk falling like Lucifer? Part 5, Conclusion and Calls to Action. The story of Lucifer's fall and the war in heaven is a timeless epic, a tale of beauty, betrayal, and the battle for the soul of the cosmos. From a radiant angel, Lucifer became the embodiment of pride and rebellion, cast out of heaven to become Satan, the adversary. Yet, this story is not just about his downfall, it's about the triumph of light over darkness, of humility over arrogance. What makes this narrative so powerful is its relevance to our lives. Lucifer's pride is a warning. Even the greatest among us can fall if we let ego take control. His rebellion reminds us that free will is a gift, but one that carries weighty consequences. And the war in heaven shows that good can prevail, even in the face of overwhelming odds. This story has inspired countless works of art, literature, and theology, from Dante's Inferno to modern films and books. It's a reminder that the battles we fight within ourselves and in the world echo the cosmic struggles of the past. As we navigate our own choices, we can draw strength from the angels who stood firm, led by Michael, and from the promise that light will always overcome darkness. What do you think about Lucifer's story? Was he a villain driven by pride or a tragic figure seeking freedom? Should we pity him or see him as a cautionary tale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the war in heaven, hit like and subscribe to explore more mysteries of faith, mythology, and the universe. Want us to cover other angels, like Michael or Gabriel, or dive into more secrets of heaven? Let us know. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.